Alright guys, so this is the week 5 recap, really kind of the week 4 and 5 recap, this only being the second recap video in 5 weeks. It's been difficult to motivate myself with the performance of my team lately. It's not been too fantastic. But let's go ahead and kind of jump right into it, talking about last week's matchups. We had some really low scoring games and some really high scoring games. So we'll start out with myself. I had an embarrassing loss against William that came down to about 16 points. Thought I was going to pull that one out for a bit, but unfortunately my team is my team. And Marshawn Lynch pulled it out over Percy Harvin thanks to his 3 TDs that I guess got pulled back. I didn't even watch that game. I only saw the end result and I found about it later, and I was not too happy. But I take that upon myself. I started Vernon Davis and he was out, although Yahoo had him listed as questionable, so that's some shit. Next we had Art playing against Garrison. Now Art put up a pretty damn fine showing and had a pretty close game, but unfortunately could not bring it up to speed and did lose against Garrison. So Garrison does go one more victory up the list, while Art still manages to lose with 272. I posted in the Smack Talk board the team name he changed himself to, and the pitcher he selected for his team was very appropriate expression on the guy's face for when you look at that matchup against Garrison. So Garrison pulling out almost 100 points on the dot with Demaryius Thomas and his 226 yards and 2 TDs is ridiculous. Garrison putting together what looks to be a easily contender team for the playoffs and will be very difficult to beat. So, Art, tough luck, buddy. I'm sure you're crying just like the guy in your team picture, but that is the beat. Going on to the next matchup, we had we had Kit playing against Max, and this also was one of those interesting matchups. Max usually having a pretty solid showing in fantasy football, pulled probably one of the lowest scores this season at half of his projected points. I don't think any of his players knew that they were actually playing football. I think they were playing soccer or something, but anyways, they didn't score much, and Kit channeled all of his, probably his luck for the entire season into 1 week and manages to put up 291. So that will probably go down as this season's biggest blowout. Max, you probably will lose by the greatest margin to Kit of this entire season. So that was about a 163 point difference. That was a pretty smashing defeat and victory by Kit. I don't think Kit's probably going to see the north end of 200 points again this season. But I guess if he was going to put it together for one solid victory, I guess Max was the one he really wanted to do it against. So congratulations, Kit. Next down the list, we had Reeve playing against John. And John had a pretty, decent showing out of most of his team, except for Matt Stafford. He kind of pulled a big fat craptacular fest, but I guess that's not a surprise to anybody who's had Stafford in the past. Max, I'm sure, can vouch for that. So he took 6 sacks, only scored 11.5 points. Reeve, on the other hand, is also putting together a very solid team this season. Pulled some really good points out of a lot of his players, not including Martellus Bennett at 8.15. I think the lowest score on his team was 30, so that's pretty damn good for a bunch of people that wouldn't have really expected it to. So John, or Reeve rather, is putting together a pretty damn fine team. So congratulations, Reeve, on that victory. Moving down the list, we had James narrowly losing to Bill. Bill, who started out the season complaining about the scoring, is now on a 2-game streak, and James is probably having about as much luck as me and Kit down at the bottom of the barrel. So that was a narrow loss of about 20 points. James had some people on his bench that he could have started that would have won him the game, but that's usually the beat for most people. That was even with Larry Donnell, 3 touchdown catching last week. Larry Donnell, tight end, scoring a 0 for Bill. So he still managed to pull that one out. Congratulations, Bill. So not doing so terrible after all, sir. And then, of course, the last matchup that we had was Dennis playing against Paul. And that was a loss of about 80 points. That was a pretty smashing victory on Paul's end. So congratulations, Paul. He got some good points out of Vincent Jackson and especially Steven Gostowski, making 2 field goals, 3 field goals total, and 4-point afters. Scored like 53. It's ridiculous, but that's, as Max likes to call it, Derek's Crazy Kicker League. So congratulations, Paul. Dennis just couldn't put up the numbers to get that victory. So Paul has now won his last 4, so he's on kind of a streak here. We'll go look at the standings here real quick, and where that kind of puts us after 5 weeks is we got a little bit more variation now going on in the standings, but we are looking at there we go. So Garrison, obviously being the team to beat, he is still undefeated after 5 weeks, which is pretty damn impressive, especially for Garrison. Sorry. So Reeve and Paul are now at 4-1. You know, they're tied for second place, but Reeve is definitely putting up better numbers per week. So he's about 200 points forward more than Paul. I think I think pretty much our playoff bracket is almost seems like it's going to be decided. A lot of the teams at the bottom are just not doing a whole lot, and I'm sure that I may not get another victory this year. The way that my team's gone, I just can't fucking figure it out, guys. It's not my year. But we've got John, Art, both at 3-2. We have Max and Dennis and William and Bill all at 2-3. So 4 people there. Of those 4 people, you know, now's really the point in the season where you need to start making a breakout for those playoff spots here at about week 5. So going into week 6, you know, there's going to be a lot to watch for those 4 teams that are tied for 2 and 3. Who's going to continue moving up the brackets and who's going to continue sliding down. So then after the 2 and 3s, we got the last of the last, and it's very shameful for me to say that I am tied with Kit's team now at 1 and 4. And in fact, if you're counting points 4, I'm losing to his team. So that's really not going phenomenally for me at all. But that's kind of where our standings are now. So going into week 6, what we have on the boards to look forward to is I will be playing against Reeve, and I will be hoping for the world's biggest upset, hopefully. I hope to really go turbo ham and actually pull out a victory against Reeve, but I'm very realistic of the fact that it's probably not going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and take Reeve on that victory. On the next matchup with Art playing against William, honestly, this one could go either way. So, you know, the way the projections are looking, and Will's been getting some points lately, I'm going to go ahead and take William in this one because mostly I hate Art, and I like to see his sad guy face on his team picture continue to cry over his losses. So I'm going to take William on that one. Next, we got Kit playing against Garrison, and I'm just going to gloss over that one because we all know how that's going to go. Garrison's going to win. But then we have Max playing against Paul, and unless Max can get his shit together, I'm going to go with Paul on that one. I think Max is going to continue sliding. Unfortunately, I think his team luck is about as good as my team luck right now. So, best of luck, Paul, on taking that victory. Next, we have James playing against John. I really hope James pulls out a victory here. I don't think his team sucks. I think he's just been getting some terrible luck with some of his players. So I'm going to go ahead and root for James taking on this victory. So lastly, we have Bill playing against Dennis. Those are some of our 2 and 3s I was talking about. So there's you know, some potential there for one of them to start making a place for themselves. And that right now, their projections are about on par with each other. So I really am not sure where that one's going to go, but I'm probably going to go ahead and take Bill in that one. So that's kind of where it leaves us, guys. So far, we've not seen any trades, but that's not terribly unusual for our league. But the trade deadline, I believe, is coming up here in November, here in about a month. So if you do have any that you want to try to miraculously mid-season fix your team by trading some people and you can get some takers, now's the time to do it. But anyways, it's getting long enough, guys, so I will wrap up, and I'll try to get back on these on a more weekly basis. I know you guys like to, that are doing well, would love to hear about your team being glorified, and many of you are. Personally, I don't think I'll ever see another victory again. So I will see you guys all next week, and best of luck with week 6 starting tonight.